Good to have you here, Ambassador Greer. And let me just begin by commending you. You've been very accessible as we've tried to get some clarity on exactly trade policy and where we're headed and how we expect counterparties to move and all the rest. You returned my phone call immediately, and your team's been in touch with mine. And so just that speaks very well of you and the Trump administration, because this is creating some anxiety. This current tariff posture among some of my constituents. On balance, I would say most of my constituents are supportive, and they recognize that some turbulence might be required in order to end up in a better spot and reset trade relations. I think one of the things I'm hearing from constituents back home is that trade retaliation doesn't fall on everyone evenly. It has a different impact on a New York tech firm than it might have on a Hoosier soybean farmer. And I hope that's something that's being factored into your analysis as you think about how foreign countermeasures could impact the American economy generally, and then in terms of particular sectors and parts of the country. So unpacking those trade-offs for the American people, I think is going to be very important moving forward. In Indiana, rural communities and export-driven manufacturers oftentimes feel the consequences, and they feel the consequences first. So, Ambassador Greer, is USTR actively mapping out which sectors and regions are going to bear the brunt of certain retaliatory measures and thinking about contingency plans?
So, Senator, thank you for your concern. And I know this is something that we all watch. I watch it very closely. The president watches it. Whenever there's any kind of announcement of proposed retaliation, we look at it very closely. We look at the tariff lines. We look at what might get hit. The good news so far is that most countries have said they're not going to retaliate on this and that they would like to seek to talk to us first, find out more about the program, what they can do to meet our goals, which, as you know, we're dealing with an emergency in terms of manufacturing and our trade deficit. And so that is what most countries have chosen to do. My sense is that if there are some countries that choose to retaliate regardless of our need to address this emergency, our hope and expectation is that countries will do what they've said, which is bring down their tariffs and non-tariff barriers to provide better markets and alternative locations.
Well, as I communicate some of the impacts in my state to your office, and as I know you and your team review this, I hope you will you'll keep those considerations in mind as you develop your negotiating priorities.
Yes, we certainly will, and look forward to continued collaboration with you.
You know, in other areas of federal policy, we have clear metrics or criteria to measure success. We do it in social policy. We do it with respect to education policy, test scores. We do it in defense policy. We try and measure readiness and through various metrics. But in trade policy, especially tariffs, we seem to lack a clear set of metrics and a feedback loop. Does USTR have a formal process to evaluate whether these tariffs are actually achieving their goals, whether that's reshoring or market access or reciprocity, some metrics associated with that? I'll let you speak to that, sir.
Senator, as we've stated, the underlying basis for this action is the national emergency arising from the trade deficit. President Biden left us with a historically high $1.2 trillion trade deficit, which we understand and know to be driven, at least in large part, by non-reciprocity. And so when we're looking at whether that emergency is abating or being affected, is we're looking at outcomes. Certainly, if other countries are bringing down their tariffs and their non-tariff barriers, that's a good indicator. That's the right direction. we also want to make sure that the trade deficit is going in the right direction. And that means two things. It means we have better access and we can export more to these other markets, but it also means that they're not using us as a dumping ground for their overproduction or their subsidized products. And so it goes both ways. And so it's a country-by-country analysis. We're looking at it case by case. They come in and talk to us on a country-specific basis where we can articulate to them what their trade barriers are, right? I've got this big book with all the trade barriers, what their non-reciprocal tariff rates are, and what we expect in terms of fair trade.
Well, thank you. I'm already over time. It's amazing how quickly we go through this, which is why I really appreciate that direct line to you and your team. I should also mention that we heard from Secretary Bessent to discuss tariffs the other day as well. We'll be in touch. We want to work with you on critical minerals policy, on digital trade policy, and many other areas that I know are your priorities as well, and President Trump's priorities. And thank you for your ongoing efforts to bring more clarity to the markets and to our businesses and farmers so that we know exactly what lies ahead. Thank you.
Senator Johnson.